Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome along. The Online Darts Live Lounge returns Monday night, 8 p.m. Boys, we planned the show, and then from about 12 o'clock, all hell has broken loose. We've had draws for TV tournaments. The calendar has dropped. Oh, my God. Where do we start, boys? It's going to be... There's Fergie time tonight.
Planning a show is a loose term. We went, yeah, we'll talk about this. There was no context to that. It was, okay, this is the topics tonight. The rest is, it will all break, or hell will break loose.
I've just been reading absolutely everything. That's why I was a little bit late. I'll take the blame and own up for
it. Look, we knew the calendar was due, but we didn't quite know it was going to drop the way it did, and all hell's broken loose. We're going to go straight into it, first of all. But as always, we're going to welcome everyone in the chat room. Craig, Tommy, Bob, ABM, Sam is in. How are we doing? Harry, Kyle, of course, Paul is in. Owen, Shawnee, Mac, Kieran, Joe, Andrew, Nels is in. Davey, Carl from Darts Track. I hope you are good, buddy. Malachi, Paddy, BOA is in. Bill and Anon is in. Right, boys, we're just going straight into it. The calendar has hit, and oh my God, it has caused chaos on social media. The first big news is that Pro Tours are now all midweek. There are no weekend Pro Tours anymore. That's the huge news that's dropped. First of all, good or bad before we go into it? One word, good or bad, yes or no?
We're not messing around here, are we?
We're going straight in. Stop waiting around. We are going in. Haymakers going. Let's go. Chat room, get involved.
Such a difficult question to answer because there is a mixed bad in there.
No, good for the tour, not for a certain few. Overall, the 128, is it good?
No. Can't be. Not unless there's another announcement still to come.
Yeah. I'm having to agree with you. Like I says, there is aspects of the hot as a whole that's good, but if you are summarising in just one word, which we don't like to do in a 2-hour show, Phil, to be honest, we'd like to speak a bit more about it.
just first opinions, good or bad?
I'm not to they'll be bad, but yeah, bad.
Right, let's go into it. Before we look at anything else on the calendar, let's go into it. I'm looking at it from this point of view. For the elite, for the Premier League players, for the World Series players, it's immense. However, we know, looking at numbers, the lower end of the tour, financially, it is not sustainable as a full-time job. And if you work, which, what do we reckon? 65% of the tour still has a full-time job or higher?
Well,
I wouldn't say full-time. I'd say they work as well.
Is it worth reading a tweet from a tour card holder?
Is it Nick Kenny?
Kicking the teeth for a person who worked full-time and 26 days leave a year.
It's more than that. He's done the sums wrong. So that's just the playing days. You've got travel days, qualifying days.
Yeah, that's how many days holiday he gets. It's 30 Pro Tours.
No. He's just so he's just put in the teeth for a person who works full-time and has 26 days leave a year.
Yeah. Well, that's wrong because you get 28 legally. So
yeah, but some include Christmas Day, etc. in your leave.
Yeah, I only get 25.
But you have to take Christmas Day, New Year's Day, and one other as standard.
So you're 8 on whatever it is on top.
Yeah.
So from that aspect, it can't be a positive when the pressure then on these players. To some people will be in jobs where they can have more days, but then more days will fall into normally an unpaid category. So then the pressure on them to earn that money on tour, i.e., like I says, just personally, my role, I would be able to have more off, but I would be losing money from a position that is guaranteed it in the job I'm in. And yes, the benefits of being a top 16, probably even top 32 player is financially very, very beneficial. But the risk and pressure on that on yourselves there is huge.
Well, the other end as well, isn't it? Is that actually there's been a big race for being top of the Challenge Tour and getting call-ups. over the last couple of years, especially as the World Series dates haven't been announced yet. It's absolute carnage. Look, it's going to be carnage for the Premier League players if you play them Saturday, Sunday, or if you play them Monday, Tuesday. They've still got to travel. They've still got to be wherever they need to be for a Premier League on a Wednesday. They still have to report on a Wednesday for media locally, etc. So some of it's still going to be an absolute nightmare for them. But the weeks that they choose to opt out or sit out, you've then got to find replacements midweek instead of weekend. So you're putting more pressure on your feeder system as well. Basically, unless there is a minimum wage offered, which the last time we spoke to Matt Porter, they were not in the business of that. Absolutely not. It's a competition. We've upped the prize money. You only have to win 1 in 3 to get the same amount as you did 2 years ago for winning 1 game, etc. You're in that position, but it's still not going to be enough at all, even with the top boys missing.
Well, that was the thing. Last time we spoke to him was at the match play, and it was a categorical no, there will not be anything like snooker coming in.
Yeah.
And also in that conversation, the calendar was 99% finalised. So I don't think that's going to change. Just judging on what was said in that interview, the calendar was 99% finalised then, and categorically it was no, we are not going to follow snooker. So
they would have known that they were moving to 100% midweek pro tours at least 3 months ago.
So I'm just looking now, right? So far this year, new tour card holders that won their card in January. Adam Warner, he's earned $8,500. Danny Van Tripe, 875. Ronnie Hybrex, 10. Adam Smith Neal, 1175. People that were regulars on the Super Series last year: Josh Payne, 1275. Robert Owen, 1325. Graham Usher, 13.5, Aaron Monk 3.75, and we're now in September. We're 9 months in, and they've not even earned a livable wage from playing darts. And bearing in mind, that's what they've earned. That's got a tax that has to come out of that, management fees, costs to get there. If they're not managed, there's hotels, there's travel. This is a disaster.
The only advantage I can see right now is that costs of hotels for the Pro Tour players and travelling should be cheaper. Mondays and Tuesdays should be cheaper than Saturday, Sunday. That's the only benefit I can see right now. The Premier League players are still going to suffer as and when that the travel becomes a pain in the arse. They haven't really added anything to the Euro Tour structure or anything else that means those weekends were unusable where they were. All that they'll be doing is cutting corners on venue costs, potentially, but they've still got to put the Challenge Tour, the Women's Series, and the Dev Tour somewhere, so they're still being played on weekends. In fact, what they've then done is shoot themselves in the foot with markers, because there is absolutely no way they can afford 16 or 32 markers or whatever it is year-round for 30 events on a Monday and Tuesday, because those guys simply cannot justify 30 days holiday for £100 a day.
But then I get that, but I'm flipping the coin here. And by the way, I totally agree. Is this what's needed though to take darts to the next level in terms of a professional tour? Because right now, let's be fair, it's not. The top end is, but completely from top to bottom, it is not professional.
To that point, which I was about to come on to the professional aspect of it. I see where you're coming with it, but when you've got a field of 128 players, and let's say that they play in every event and it's the same sort of 1 to 8, there's no reserves, you've got to make that financially rewarding for the guys. You've always got half of them who are first round losers. There's got to be something to be able to justify that person doing this for a living. You rolled off a few names there, and the oyster earner there was what, £10,000 in 9 months from them 3 or 4 that you gave.
Aaron Monk 375.
And if that was someone's full-time job, it just wouldn't be sustainable. So I understand the professional mindset of it, but I think August, September, this sort of time of the year, now when you've only got a few months left and you've done a risk losing your tour card, you're going to be looking for work elsewhere because you know this just isn't sustainable when as we've spoke about plenty of times, yes, there's different aspects of it, but the amateur game right now, or the non-PDC game, it's hard to call it amateur because it's so good, but the amateur side of the sport is so financially beneficial to so many of these players that even going to a modus wheat can be financially better, more rewarding, even if you're losing, than it can be done on the Pro Tour. Some of the decisions that these players are going to make are now put on them a lot more than what there was before. I think you're just going to struggle with that 1-8 week in, week out on a Pro Tour, and it's not going to look very good when you can't fill your professional tour with the full number of players and we don't have so many boys, which is obviously in consideration of the whole thing. That's a small part of it. We don't look at making sure that the players are well looked after as well. And I don't see it being. I don't know how they can maintain it with a early rounds prize money being as it is.
No, definitely not. A couple in the Matchroom have a plan. As soon as people try to put the closest Premier in, they'll shoot the price up. Yeah, most hotels use adaptive pricing systems nowadays anyway. James says the players could mark the boards. They could, but if this is a step in the right direction of making the sport professional, then you have professional referees. There can't be any injustice there. There can't be somebody marking badly for their mate or any of those accusations. It is professional markers, professional sport, and that's your pipeline of referees as well.
Yeah.
And plus,
you know how to use the tablets. You get a new tour card that's never played on Dart Connect before. You show them how to use it a couple of times. Oh, well, they're rubbish. They're throwing off my rhythm. Like, just don't give the players any excuse.
And plus, isn't part of the levy that the players paid to the PDPA for the markers?
Yeah.
So that levy would they wouldn't pay it. I'm not going to name the player because it's not fair. But I had a conversation earlier on this year with a player in regards to were they going to Germany to play in the Pro Tour? The answer was no, because it's not marked. That was his reason for not going to the Pro Tour. Not, I don't want to go to Germany. No, because it's not marked.
Because they just don't want the hassle of something potentially going wrong with another player.
Well, and plus, that we all know what dart players are like. That at that point, they've probably practiced well. Mm-hmm. The last thing you want to do after losing is go and mark.
Yeah.
Sometimes to the guy that's just beat you.
Now, I know that at floor events and pretty much every other level, you sit there, you lose your mark. That's the way people have been brought up. But again, this is the professional game. And whilst that didn't exist a few years ago or it started to creep in, etc., I just think it just makes the day so much smoother with people knowing what they're doing. You're not chasing people.
Yeah, 100%. And look, the markers they have, look, we know some of them really well, Mark Walker and people like that. They make the day run smoothly because they make sure players are there, ready to go, ready to get on. I genuinely didn't see this one coming.
Yeah, not to the extreme they've done it. We knew there was going to be some in the calendar event as of how hectic the calendar is. Obviously, we've seen it this year. We've seen it, last week? Was the Prix last week?
Yeah.
But to justify, I don't know, single figures worth of Pro Tour events to then putting all 30 into the week, from a player perspective who's outside the top 32, 40, it made it a little bit more difficult as you said, the majority of them weren't.
Carl says that's a poor, lazy excuse. It is in one respect, but the other one is the players pay to have markers at events.
Yeah.
That one, is it 1% or 2% they pay?
It used to be 1. I think it might be 2 now.
Well, whatever it is, they have to pay that on their prize money, regardless of whether the markers were in Germany or not. So in his head, I've paid for them. They should be there. But whether people agree with it or not, he's still having to pay that levy on any prize money that was in Germany. So it should be marked.
Yeah.
Do we think this will have a knock-on effect at Q School, this news?
potentially. So that's...
I'm not sure. It will add to the mix of someone who's in two minds. And I've looked at certain people who are in seniors category, people who are play a fair bit of modus, and will add this to the sort of, well, why would I do if I can play seniors, if I can play modus? Now I've got to make sure that I've also got to make sure I can butt off at least 30 days playing, never mind, like you said, the travel. I think it adds to it. I don't think someone makes a decision solely based on this, but I think with everything else that's there.
I think it might affect players that are looking to go and get their tour card again. I think for players that have ambitions of getting a tour card for the very first time, I still think because it's been sold as the dream factory for so long, there is a naivety amongst players going to Q School that have never been or think they're ready or whatever. Oh, I'm averaging 85. Am I good enough for Q School? Probably not, mate. Not if that's your run average. You need to be producing a lot higher than that week in, week out, but you're still going to go. You're still going to have a crack because if on your day it turns out you're a professional. And there is no other sport where you can turn pro so quickly like that based on yourself. So I still think that there will be that exuberance of people to go to Q School and try and make that jump. And actually, I think we're going to see a lot of amateur dart players asking for sponsors over the next few months as they gear up for it and looking for people to help them on their journey, especially right at the start. And then they can make a decision halfway through the year. I don't think people are going to stop it straight away. I think they might see where they are come the match play maybe and go, right, that's the summer. I've used my holiday. Where am I realistically going for the rest of the year? Am I in a position where I can move to a part-time job, where I can do other things on the side and still earn enough to play darts? Because the exhibition circuit is not what it used to be. It's still very good and very prosperous for, again, the guys at the very top.
The elite
ones in demand. The problem with things like Pro Tour streams and four boards and whatever else is that actually you still get a chance to see the names that you might not have 10 years ago. 10 years ago, someone like Steve Beaton or Mervyn King, they're in, 4 or 5 TV tournaments a year. Now you get a chance to see them potentially 30 times on a Pro Tour stream, 13 times on a Euro Tour, plus all the TV events.
Yeah, look.
On the upside, we get our weekends back. Me and you could stream Monday, Tuesday, Phil. But that's about it. But then again, how many of these have got Monday blocks on? So we're going to have to go Pro Tour 1 till 6, tiny break, live round 8 till 10. And that's just us personally, and we're not even players.
Who would have thought that the release of the PDC calendar would be the first time that Dob has been positive on a Monday night for 3 years?
I've lost my Monday. If I have to work on the Super Series, as I sometimes do, I've got to work 9:30 till 2:30-ish.
Yeah, but you got your weekends off?
Pro Tour's already an hour deep. Got to jump straight onto that as I've done before. Do that until 6. Sneak some food, then back in front of you lot for 8.
But you got your weekend off?
Barely. If I've got a spare weekend, the boss man's going, we're going to get some content.
You've got a weekend off from it. If Phil sends you somewhere else, that's...
It's right for you, football boy. We're talking football this week, are we? Are you far enough removed? Well, met me Gary last week. Grow up.
I've never. This is arguably one of the biggest moves they've made for a new season in a long time. And just, look, before we go on to the rest of the calendar, this is just the Pro Tours moving, by the way. We haven't even touched on anything else yet. Jay says, Phil, why do you think this is happening? Obviously, something in the pipeline. Look, I don't know why it's happening. I think, like I said earlier, I think it's a move to make it into a more professional tour, but I don't think it's really been thought through.
It only is a move to do that if there is a minimum earning. You cannot expect people to give up their job for something like $8,500 a year, like Adam Warner's earned. That was just the number off the top of my head.
But we already know that's not coming.
well, then it's stupid. I don't think you're going to push people that can do this. Not in an era where it's so expensive to live. It's never been more expensive to travel. It's never been more expensive to do your weekly shopping at Tesco. And you're like, oh yeah, just give up your job, come play darts on a Monday and Tuesday and see what you can do. The whole, if you're good enough, you'll make it line just doesn't wash in this situation, because there is only a certain amount of prize money available to a certain number of people.
There is, but so how then do you move it on? Because at the moment it's gone stale in terms of getting it to that next level. I'm not saying this is the right move, by the way, but I think it's something they're trying to do. But how do you move it to the next level? Because we've already seen burnout is a thing this year. I don't care what anyone says.
At the top level. But again, this just seems... I don't think this is a move for the top players. If anything, I genuinely think the biggest underlying factor to this is it's cheaper to get those venues on a Monday and Tuesday than it is a Saturday and Sunday.
Probably
One
right.
of them, definitely.
I genuinely would not be surprised if a lot of this boils down to PDC cost cutting over everything else.
Well, even though they made £10 million last year, whatever it was, profit.
Have you met Barry Hearn?
Yeah. I am genuinely taken back by this, because I think there is a massive storm coming. In terms of, I genuinely think we may see players giving cards back. Now,
I do think that's a possibility, and potentially more of a possibility that people will go and attack year one, see the position they're in, and think, well, why am I'm probably better giving it back. Because if you don't to stall, obviously you don't get that card. But if you can see yourself in less than £10,000 in year one, less than probably £15,000 in year one, you've got to produce something magic in year two, knowing that you've got to give up your worth, your holiday, your actual holidays that you probably have with families that you're no longer allowed to have, because your focus is all around putting in the card. But it is a professional game, which will probably be
the only other thing you can potentially see coming here instead of a minimum earnings is they relax the restriction on playing darts weekdays, or they relax the restriction on playing darts at other events for tour card holders and say, go and play where you want. It makes us better. You go in and achieving somewhere else goes, oh, look at this tour card holder doing this.
I'm not sure that would benefit PDC.
It's a cost they don't have to find in terms of minimum earnings. Players can go and do it on the weekend when there is more events for them to be able to go and enter. Make a living through that way. That's the only thing I can see. And it was nudged by the fact that Alex Spellman's in the chat room. Congratulations on reaching Ali Pally, mate. Superb job. Says, as an American, probably better to not have a tour card, but this makes Q School attractive to open up Challenge Tour, then perform well there to get call-ups since they might be more frequent. And I'm still free to do Modus, CDC, yada, yada.
Oh, 100%. I agree. And good to have you in, Alex, as always. Well done on the weekend.
That's the only other thing I can see. There has to be one of the two right now, because the bottom end of the tour will just not survive. They're not going to put enough money into the Challenge Tour to remove the Q School element of it, so it becomes a feeder, so that people can actually afford to play on the Challenge Tour for a year, give it enough effort to go and earn themselves a tour card that way. If it was 20 cards off the Challenge Tour and 6 outright at Q School, etc., it has to be either you can go and play darts anywhere else, and then there's a serious discussion to be had with the ADC, who are the amateur dart circuit, but actually a lot of those players will not be amateur anymore.
Suits is in as well.
They have to find a minimum earnings.
60 swaps incoming. How are we doing, Suits?
Only 60?
Yeah. So I was looking at it that if you if you're not in the elite and you have to qualify for everything, travel days, Pro Tours, qualifying, and I've only done, if you qualify for half the Euro Tours, you need about between 75 and 80 days.
And some of them are Sundays, which are absolute wankers to travel on. Nothing works. Nothing works.
It is a mess. And I'm actually really, really speechless because I didn't think this would happen. And I don't see where it goes from here. I genuinely don't right now. I'm just on the information we have, I don't see the roadmap. Where normally it's planned out quite well, but I just don't see where it goes from here.
Surely the main result of this change, in addition to, like I says, everything else amateur wise, will be that Q-stall number when we compare it to previous years, non-COVID. That will be a true test, I guess. But even looking at that, you've probably got and just thinking out loud, are people now seeing it as that challenge tour opportunity? Are people actually going to Q-stall to win the card, or to get a challenge tour weekend, and all everything else that comes with it? Because we've said many a times, where are you best being situated? In the top 5 in the challenge tour, or in the bottom 65 and down in the Pro Tour? There's only one a lot of them would take.
The other thing is that actually, by moving them, they don't seem to have spread the Players' Champs out any more than what they are this year. There's still points where there's a 6-week gap between Pro Tours.
Yeah.
There's 2 Euro Tours in that gap, but there is 1 day of qualifying for those 2 off the back of a Pro Tour. If you don't win either of those, you have a 6-week gap to play darts again in May and June.
Yeah.
The biggest block is 3 days. There's no 4 or 5 blocks. There's no race to anything, as we suggested that actually they seem to work and that players might be okay with a mixture of both.
And I'll answer the Gary bit in any other business towards the end of the show. I do know why he pulled out. Lendl, funny you should say that. Yeah, I had a WhatsApp chat with Matt. We've got something potentially penciled in for next week.
We don't mess around here, mate. Can we address the rest of the calendar now?
Yeah. Right. That's just that. Already, we know the Masters has no effect on this year's Premier League, next year's Premier League, because for the first time that I can remember, the Masters is in February and the Premier League starts before it.
Good.
Is it good?
I think it's good that it doesn't affect it, but I like the Masters as the season opener.
No. I don't like the Masters at all. And if you're going to put it after the Premier League, get rid of it.
Just onto one of the points.
Save that prize money.
To Shawnee Matt's point, does the Masters lose to Phill now? It's after the first Premier League. The appeal of it the past few years has been that spot in the Premier League, let's be honest. We know that was being removed anyway. And they're being put in the Friday, Saturday, Sunday post-Premier League. What appeal has it got?
The only way the Masters has an appeal is if it becomes an all-out Premier League qualifier. And actually, you take your invites, whatever, there is one, you take them out of the Masters, and there's one spot played down to winner for the rest. But they're not going to do that. They've been incredibly fortunate for the last 3 years that somebody outside of the 7 or 9 already selected has gone on to win that tournament. The way it played out for them first year was an absolute gift. The second year, pretty similar. And the third year, it actually tied their hands behind the back as well as Dobie performed. And as much as he deserved to win that title and after the previous 2 get that shot, I don't think they wanted Dobie. I think they had the mindset elsewhere. And the minute that Dobie went on to win that, they'd actually shot themselves in the foot a bit and realised that actually we've set a precedent here. We don't have a choice.
But
that's how late Dobie got that call. Do you remember? He was telling us that actually it was like 2 days before. Can you get to Belfast or something? Can you fly to Belfast from Newcastle?
But within a tour and preview an event for this weekend that we've all 3 of us have slagged off due to certain aspects of it, from a Masters perspective, I'm not quite sure the reasoning for that tournament, other than it's contractually with ITV to be in that weekend or to be in one of their TV shows. But what does it actually give to those 24 players?
It just used to be the season opener, didn't it? It was 16 as well.
Yeah, but
ITV have forced the
but it's
20.
not now. So what does it give? What
Yeah,
does it give? As it's not the season opener?
Nothing. It's when everyone goes, what tournament would you get rid of? The Masters is always one of the first to be chucked in that conversation. Because if you're going to put this much emphasis on the Premier League,
it gets someone in the Grand Slam potentially.
The PDC has 4. I don't know what the wording is. 4 invitational Premier events, and 2 of them start within a week of each other. Sack one off.
Yeah, but they can't because contractually, ITV have got X amount of tournaments.
Move it. Or put something else in.
Exactly that point. Move it. They have moved it, but just not to the right place.
Yeah, you've got weekends now. It doesn't need to be those players either. Arguably, the players in the Masters are the same players that will have had a decent run at the Worlds or close to it. You might get the odd outsider, but actually they're going to be... The top 24 don't need a TV event to get them going.
Yeah, but I don't see where you... Unless you have it where it is. Like, I'm not in this spot, but the week before. I don't see where you put the Masters after that. You can't put it after the match play because there's literally no room in the back end of the year. June, we got New York and the World Cup, so I don't see where it goes.
Get rid of it.
or leave it where it was.
Yeah.
The only reason they will have moved it is because they're fitting Bahrain in January. It's true. Andrew just nailed it. It was the season opener last year. It will be the season opener again. They haven't announced World Series dates yet, but the only reason there is that big a gap between Q School, which is actually a week later, to be fair. Normally that falls around the 3rd or the 4th, so you've got a few extra days there. January becomes that little much shorter for them in terms of weekends.
It's the same dates as last year, or as this year. It was late this year as well, because it clashed with Bahrain.
It won't do this year.
Bahrain
will be what a challenge tour's on.
There was 2 in January last year.
It was Copenhagen as well.
Yeah. So you might still
for them. That challenge tour weekend and the last weekend in January.
Or you have 3 World Series events in January.
No.
If I'd have asked you this question this time last year, would there be 2 World Series events in January? You'd tell me no then. We've already had 2.
You know,
in fairness, if you're in Bahrain, Saudi's only a short flight.
Exactly.
I'm going to shoot you on sight.
So yeah, Masters has moved. The Premier League is announced. The orders change around. The cities are the same, but the actual Premier League lineup hasn't changed.
Shock.
Good job. I like driving.
You've got a nice drive on the 15th.
Yeah. So. So Premier League, Cardiff, Berlin, Glasgow, Newcastle, Cattleshed, Brighton, Nottingham, Dublin, Belfast, Manchester, Birmingham, Rotterdam, Liverpool, Aberdeen, Leeds, Sheffield, and London.
Sheffield is the final one. Is one of the most flat ones in terms of atmosphere.
Yeah, but there's a few in that list anyway, isn't there?
There is, but you put a big one at the end. That's potentially your big league deciding everybody into the... Like, that night's already struggling in the current format where 1 plays 8 and 4 plays 5, etc. It's over with 1 game. At least give it an atmosphere.
I thought the... Again, I'm just stirring the pot here. I thought the Premier League poster was quite interesting. Only 3 on there.
There's only 3 on most of their stuff at the minute, isn't there?
MVG, Price and Smith.
Who else did you expect?
Statistics aren't they the only 3 that are there to...
Price is provisionally world number 5, so he's not guaranteed.
He's not quite falling as quickly as a certain man spouting a Mohican, though, is he?
Yeah. So that's the Premier League.
They're still inviting him, aren't they? There's a chance they don't invite Peter. There's a bloody no chance they don't invite Gezi unless he goes.
I think Gezi wins a TV title anyway and is in the top 4.
But even if he's got 16 shirts from this year that he probably wants to rewear. No, he had them made. He didn't have them made for 1 year, did he?
Yeah, they had years on them, didn't they?
I don't know really.
The 2024 Euro Tour, some new venues, not as many trips to Germany, and
still a lot.
Yeah, but that's always going to happen. Look at continental Europe, as in Germany, provides the bulk of the Euro Tour's income, revenue, so that's always going to happen.
It looks like they've got rid of the Germany ones that are a pain in the ass to get to.
Well, it's only Riesa that's left that is a ball lake.
And Riesa does good
numbers,
sales locally.
Yeah, it's just a ball lake to get.
That's one of the ones that's been there from the start, isn't it? Like Riesa is a decent one.
Yeah,
but overall, I'm liking it. They've moved the one in Holland. I'm not sure if any of our Dutch friends are in, but I saw them saying that it had been moved. I'm not sure what the town is like. They've moved it to, but Budapest, Prague, and I'm looking forward to Basel as well, which has changed because when we spoke to Werner from PDC Europe, he was insisting it was going to be Zurich. So that's interesting that although we are going to Switzerland, the city has changed.
The general consensus online is that there is a massive absence of Poland on the Euro Tour. There's still too many German. If you're doubling up Belgium as well, why was that not a Poland or a France or even an Ireland?
Because the amount of tickets they sold last year in Belgium was off the scale, so they put another one in. Commercially, it makes sense.
I mean, Switzerland over Poland right now?
Poland are going to get a World Series event again. We know that. They've already said they're
not going back to Gibraltar. That looks to be done.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised with that one, though. I thought that was done anyway.
Yeah. But going back to the calendar, some of the travelling involved, September especially, is chaos. But during the Premier League, I can also see a lot of those, we'll say 8 now, missing a lot of Pro Tours because of everything that's involved.
Standard. But yeah, look, we had that issue last year, didn't we, where they went from Nottingham to Austria to Liverpool to the Netherlands to somewhere else, then back to the Netherlands. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, Carl, Budapest's on there. Budapest is September next year. Patrick is in as always. Better for tickets. The last 2 Euro tours weren't great. Organised North Holland to nearby. But cool. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Love it hard.
Absolutely no. An interesting one that the World Cup is now later in June. That's been pushed back a couple of weeks. The match plays the same weekend as this year. Although,
late.
What's that?
That's late again, isn't it? That's normal. It used to be summer holidays, and now it's the week before.
Early, yeah.
Not late.
They've kept it the same as it was this year. The interesting one, not interesting, but says to me that they are still trying to go back to Ireland. The World Grand Prix, we've got the dates, but venue to be confirmed. That says to me that they're trying to get it back in Ireland.
We knew that. Matt Porter said they were still exploring venues, whether or not that's the City West or whether that's somewhere else. The issue is pinning it to a specific set of dates narrows down those options significantly.
look, I'm at a guess. The Morningside's probably booked as fallback for those dates.
Yeah.
They can easily just go, right, it's going there. I guess. But
and you would expect that still to be the case, that it'll be at Morningside until they're close to it. But yeah, they did this last year, didn't they?
And I thought they'd be in Leicester at that point.
But didn't they do this last year, but with the Slam?
The Slam didn't have a... Look, to be fair, I don't think either the Slam or the Grand Prix had venues this time last year.
The Slam just says Wolverhampton in calendar, but I'm guessing that is Aldersley somewhere.
Oh, it'll be Aldersley. The Civic's done.
Passed that the other day. Yeah.
Yeah, the Civic's done. Another one that I don't like is the last Players' Championships is the 30th and 31st of October. Now, in that, if you don't qualify for the Slam or the Players, you've got 5 weeks to wait until that World Championship qualifier with no action.
Which is the difference between going out and looking for a job, keeping your card, going back to Q School, etc., and getting yourself in order for Christmas. That's a lot of time sat around doing nothing.
I agree. I'm not.
That's the same for the Dev and the Women's, though, isn't it? There's nothing post-October. If you've qualified, and I know that's a small selection of players who come out of those tours that are in the Worlds, but they will have that time of competitive darts before the World Championship. I'm just looking at one slight change because of it now being the week before. So I know we talked about this when it led to the match play. Remember the 2 Pro Tours that had no meaning in the race to the match play? There is now a bigger gap between Players' Championship 13 and 14 than the World Match Play, which may open up that window. Because you've got 10 days before the draw instead of 4 days that you had this year.
Yeah, there's a little bit more time there, which is, again, I kind of like that. Chat room, what else are you saying about the calendar? Do you like it or not? Overall, this is... Have the Masters in November. Surely Matt makes a good point on that. Having that last Pro Tour that weekend, also no trick-or-treating. It's a very good point and needed to be raised.
No. Halloween is for toddlers. And pissed up students.
So you fall into that bracket quite well then?
Yes.
Not anymore.
Yeah, so calendar is out. Is it available in full on our website? If anyone wants to go and have a look at it there.
The fact that this wasn't on our schedule to talk about tonight and we're 45 minutes in is always spoken about. Says how late that news broke.
Oh, well, it works quite well because Neil was pulled out, unfortunately. Something's come up. So in a way, it's kind of done us a favour that that's dropped. This calendar just screams more money. Yeah, that's a very good point, Adam. Do we have a minute of silence now for the Barnsley Metrodome? The Mecca has gone.
Dan Dawson is currently filling up the pool with his tears.
Patrick says it's very interesting to have a lot of weekends without events so far. I think there'll be something new coming soon.
With these, and I've seen someone else mention, Andrew mentioned it as well. Do we think we'll have a bigger increase in World Series events because of the calendar?
No, I think we may have one more next year if they can find a suitable venue for the second Australian event.
But this calendar, you would expect, is not a one-year thing that Pro Tours will be midweek. That then allows that opportunity moving forward to increase your World Series events, surely.
I think we'll. I think we'll see
the thing is, there aren't actually that many free weekends. They've challenge and women's series.
So, but all them have been doubled up before with World Series events. You've had World Series events with those.
But actually, in terms of staffing them now, the PDC don't have that headache.
But we obviously know the rationale behind why a World Series event takes place. So if somewhere else shows an interest,
where next then?
Well, Phil's already alluded to one place.
Saudis, right? Yeah, it can't. The problem is, it doesn't feel like the Saudis want to invest in darts because the culture around darts is completely against their values. The party atmosphere and the pissed up fans is not what they want. You can gloss over that a bit with football, but actually, in terms of darts, where one of the biggest selling points is come and have a beer, it still is, whether we like it or not.
But is there also more opportunities in like the US, Australia? Is there still more opportunities there to extend it to multiple weekends instead of just? I know we have a couple anyway, but to extend that further, or have I don't know, sort of a mini series of 4 American weekends in different states. Those opportunities now arise.
Are you going to get the players to travel for 4 weeks on a US road tour? Some of them pulled out of Australia this year, and it's down to 2 instead of 3 like it used to be.
Sometimes money talks that, pal.
I think we're potentially
staff to be there for 4 weeks is expensive enough, let alone the players on appearance fees, and or pay for your family to come as well, so you don't cry it off.
I think we're potentially maybe close to the North American doubleheader.
I think that one's deserved.
Yeah.
There are regions where you say, right, they need to attack it. Philippines, maybe. Somewhere in Asia. Africa needs a crack.
Yeah.
But it's having connections and people already in those regions to sell your event and get your locals involved and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but this isn't something that's just happened. This has been planned, that the Pro Tours move to this midweek setup, and that must be with the long-term planning of the World Series or something else coming into that effect to be extended. I don't see them not utilising them weekends, or at least a few more of those weekends.
Wait and see, won't we?
Yeah, and there's an interesting one from Niall as well that says, are they trying to force the decision of the players either commit 100% to the tour, or do you go basically just do your job?
If there isn't another announcement to come that is either a minimum earning for the year, or that you're allowed to go and play darts elsewhere and you are no longer restricted as a tour card holder, then yes, that's 100% what they're doing.
And genuinely, as we sit here now, I don't think either's coming.
No. And I think that is where the PDC is a little bit naive for me. Just the fact that we're the top, we can do what we want. What will be interesting is if for the first time in their history, the PDPA do something. other than photocopy some signs for the venue.
Are you drunk?
If enough of the players care about this, that's where they have to go. And if there's no movement at that point, then the PDPA need to be outed, or the people on that board or organisation need to be turned over to people that are going to fight for them. The only thing big enough right now to compete with the PDC is either a live tour, where the Saudis just come in and chuck a load of money at it, and we don't think that's going to happen, or player power.
I don't see either. I think
I see the second one more likely than the first one.
I genuinely don't think tour card holders realise how much power they have if they get together and go, no, you have to give us one of these two. You either have to let us go and play darts elsewhere, so that when I come to these events, I'm in the best position possible to earn as much money as possible. Or you have to give me a base earning because I can't put myself in that position and work to support families, whatever. You can't rely on sponsors to make your elsewhere. You can't rely on someone else footing the bill to make sure that your 128 is the best 128 in the world.
And just think of the conversations we've had over the past few years around the likes of Glenn, well publicised, the likes of Johnny, well publicised, around should he give up work? We've seen the success with not working. Now I'm with Niall that it's not really a choice. If darts is what you are looking to do to be a top sportsman, you have got to give up work to get to that level. Otherwise, it is having a ridiculous run on a TV event or something to maintain that means you can miss 10, 15 Pro Tours a year and still be successful.
No, it's bang on. Leaving the weekends free to add tournaments will create even more burnout as well. If you're putting World Series in for these free weekends, your players that are knackered from the Premier League, etc. Don't get me wrong, they're paid handsomely for it. But there's an awful lot of air miles, an awful lot of travel, etc. You've already got your top stars complaining about burnout from the last couple of years. If you then put them through that position where they're not forced to, but play Premier League and then, right, we're giving you 6 out of 8 World Series this year. Get your passport ready. They're going to play less Pro Tours, and that opens up so much more of this debate of getting Challenge Tour players to take time off to play Pro Tour events. It's just one big mess by the looks of it.
Yeah, and Andrew, I agree with you that there should be an organisation there, but that there isn't. And let's be fair, the WDF at the moment can't even get their 2 Premier events in order. So trying to get a tour is just never going to happen.
Well, I agree that there is a huge opportunity there for not siding with any organisation, but there is a huge opportunity there for ADC, WDF, even Modus have got to be, the Super Series have got to be looking at this as a sort of rubbing their hands together when this was announced.
Yeah.
Because that's who it's benefited right now. If you're looking to progress, I'm sure Steve Brown looking at this will see this as a huge opportunity in regards to how now to take the ADC further forward, and the quality within that field should increase even further than what it is now.
No, I agree. It's interesting. Well, that we knew it was going to be explosive, but yeah, look, I'm interested to see the correspondence over the next week to see what happens. I personally, I don't think anything will, but I'm interested to see.
I'm laughing at Johnny Matt's comment just after 55 minutes of debate. He just puts in, for balance, this is fantastic for the top 32, which I agree.
It's fantastic for some of them. I'm not even sure it's fantastic for all of them. You've still got similar travel issues for your Premier League players, right? But those that are then, say, a Ross Smith, this is absolutely perfect for a Ross Smith, for a player who is potentially top 16 quality, who is now going to rock up to Pro Tours Monday. He is earning enough that he could go full-time with this, if you look at his earnings for this year. But actually, the amount he could potentially earn from Pro Tours suddenly shoots up, or you'd expect it to, because the quality of that field is weaker by the number of players that are going to be missing out. And as good as the Challenge Tour top-ups are, the more often Van Gerwen, Gerwin Price, Peter Wright, etc., skip Pro Tours because of burnout at the start of the year, and then the PDC run Pro Tours on the same weekends as World Series events in Australia, the chances for those guys to close the gap at the top and earn even more money is ridiculously good.
Well, I get the comments just come in there. The top 32 will just earn more exhibitions. There was a couple earlier one from Adam says the top players will make more money turn up for exhibitions than Pro Tours. Sam says don't the top players make more money doing exhibitions events? Look, I think that was more than evident this week when we had two of the best 3 players in the world right now missing the Euro Tour to do 4 on the bounce. That you can't hide that. It was there all over social media that they did it. They willingly missed the Euro Tour to go and cash in.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. But again, that's only the very elite level that can do that.
Yeah. There's a couple more before we do move on. Paul says for every player that doesn't want to do it, there's thousands of players that would. But there's only a handful of players that are in a position financially that are capable of doing so right now. And that's the issue. There are thousands of players that would absolutely love the dream of going and being a professional dart player. Grassroots and amateur level and whatever has probably never been so strong. It's like the number of players playing darts every single week feels like it is at record high numbers when you look at youth level, JDC, you look at Dev Tour players, you look at Challenge Tour players, you look at players playing in vaults and local leagues and whatever. Darts is in an incredibly strong position right now. But not every single one of them can walk away from their day job and play 30 Pro Tours Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
And not
There's
all
only a small handful in the world that are ever going to be financially that secure to do so. And actually, if being financially secure is a reason to walk away and start playing darts, and actually the quality of your 128 is going to drop.
And you said not a lot of them can. Some of them don't want to. And some of them, we've seen that. We've seen that with the time it took Johnny to finally make that decision. I know he's a name we've used before, but
Glenn Durham was the same.
Yeah, and Glenn, it took to winning the Premier League before we did that, or was it just the winter before? Maybe he did.
Yeah.
The other thing is the top 30 will cash more on exhibitions. Yes and no, because from another point of view, exhibitions rely on fans paying money to be there. And it has never been more difficult for promoters to sell events. Ever.
Yeah.
Because everybody, your mate down the pub, your next door neighbour, etc., have less expendable cash right now. People are going out less. They're spending less on activities and fun because it's all on bills and mortgages and rent and food, travel, cars. Trying to sell tickets to an exhibition has never been more difficult.
Yeah. I'd go with that. Shall we talk about who's been naughty recently?
I forgot this was coming.
Right. So the DRA haven't published notes for fucking years. And at last, I check regularly and I message Gob saying it's up there. And it was blooming brilliant.
We got 2021, didn't we? And we're like, right, maybe they're just going to release 2 years behind. It gives people long enough to appeal, etc. And then all of a sudden, 2022 and 2023 rocked up. And I'm like, hang about, what's gone off here?
Right. Now,
it was almost as elusive as the World Cup of Darts feedback.
Now, don't get me wrong. Some of these we knew about behind the scenes, but obviously couldn't say anything because they weren't common knowledge. However, they are now. So let's start with 2021. The MVG John Worsley dispute is on there. Aggressive behaviour and bringing the sport into disrepute always makes me chuckle.
Yeah. Are you putting these on screen?
2 seconds, and I will.
Get that PDF live so everyone else can join in.
You know, I was that excited when I saw it was on there, and the page opens up to 22 and 23. This is the first time I'm looking at 21, so I thought
you not got that far.
I've been to 22 and 23. I'll be honest, I literally went to them two, and I was like, I was reading a few, dropped out a few messages to say, "Oh, you've been a naughty boy," and digging a bit deeper as to why. To some that I didn't know.
Spot the hotel room party in a minute.
Where is it? Where's my other screen? There it is. So we're kind of.
That's fine, as long as people can see.
Wait a minute.
Can we zoom in a bit at the top? Hit the plus. Oh, what have you done to us? That one. Right.
Mate, we have.
Have you not got a three-way?
What's that?
Have you not got a three-way one?
No, we've only got 4.
Shocking. Right, that'll have to do.
Yeah, that'll do. Right. Is that better?
Perfect.
Right. So, there's a few interesting ones. Let's go through. The betting on darts ones is interesting.
Naughty.
Including Adam Smith-Neil. Ben Cheeseman adopting aggressive behaviour, threatening behaviour and damaging property just by the date of the offence. We know that was at Q School. I went through and did some checking.
Yeah.
So that was the one from Q School.
Oh, well, then 16th of February?
Yeah, because it was late, remember?
Oh, it was COVID, yes.
All these failing to mark ones are obviously in COVID times when they had to mark. Now, the COVID party one, I really like. It's from John Spackman, Andy Bolton, Nick Kenny. I don't know if Suits is still in the chat room, but if you are, was it a good party?
Naughty boy.
Chizzy, Dobie, Bradley Brooks, Louis Williams, Jake Jones, Paul Brown, Daniel Calvert.
Just a quick one on that one. The allegation is the same, but the outcome is slightly different for a few. Were they the hosts?
No, some were players, some were managers.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
What a night!
So they was the host. You add into the names.
Yeah, some were players, some were players, some were managers. So,
as I said, the first time I'm looking through 2021, it's a better read than the other two.
I'm glad it was a good night, Suits. Gerwin Price is an interesting one. The failing to mark, but it's the public criticism on social media. I can't remember what he criticised off the top of my head.
That could be numerous.
That was back in the days when he still used Twitter as well. It doesn't even have to be his Instagram.
They should have to put the post up with the fine so we can see the detail of the ones we can't remember.
There should be an evidence section, shouldn't there? Just hyperlink.
I like the Steve West one. Players and guests, disruptive behaviour and recklessly throwing darts.
It's funny.
That sounds like Vodka Wednesdays with Dob.
I remember Jack Maines and Steve Brown, because these were in the same weekend. Their inappropriate posts on social media. They went in on the unicorn boards massively.
Yes.
I remember them because Steve refused to take his down. Daryl Gurney recklessly throwing darts. Vincent and Michael getting fined.
Vincent then fined for inappropriate comments.
Never.
Shock.
I'm sure I've seen his name early on in this as well. Was that for? Oh
Yeah,
no, that was Baltimore.
In COVID time. Yeah, Big Johnny. It might have been the boards as well. Remember that weekend they were just getting bashed by everyone. I like Emery G's public comments, so he's obviously had a rant. Actually, date of incident. No, actually, it wasn't that. I thought it might have been when he failed his COVID test and then went live on Dutch TV and ranted.
Not ideal.
So that's the 2021 ones. I need to shut some tabs down.
I've been telling you that for years.
Was that who I think it was, Niall?
Right.
Does his initials match a popular Alco pop similar to WKD?
Yeah, so I've got to say, 700 quid was a bit steep.
Yeah, normally looking at your phone the next morning's terrible. Having the fine come through as well.
If we do this, are we set up differently?
Right, 2022 fines.
Right.
Jordan Brooks, unprofessional behaviour. That must have been Q school because of the date, 13th for the 1st. Then we get some more betting on darts. Merv King, unprofessional behaviour. Do you reckon he turned up at 10 o'clock instead of 7?
Yeah, dog warning.
A bit. Well, Suits, the bit I don't get is, obviously, look, I get there was rules in place. However, everyone in that bubble had tested negative, so it's not as if you can pass on anything to each other when you've all tested to be in the bubble.
Are you on the defence side here?
Yeah. Um,
Come on, get to the big one.
No, wait a minute. We'll do Gezzy's first, because I think this is harsh. Failing to participate in a presentation ceremony, 3-month ban suspended. You've just lost a final. Of course you're going to be pissed off.
But everybody else has managed to go through that. You know what's expected. You stand there, you do an interview, you say well done, and then you rant in the background. It's a bit like Sabalenka. Is it Sabalenka?
Yeah.
The video being released of her smashing up her tennis racket after she's done all the niceties is shocking. You want to rant, you want to do that, fine. Do it in private. That should never have been public at all. Been absolutely shafted.
No, I agree. No, Suits is on next week. Spoiler alert, we've already sorted that one out.
We will hear all about Partygate.
Yeah.
Get the translator in now.
So that was that one. Then we got some more here. Steve West fined again. Nick Fulwell, aggressive behaviour and minor assault in a non-PDC event.
Can't be many of those that are DRA affiliated, though.
Surely it must have been WDF.
They're not DRA, are they?
Yeah.
What it said? WDF?
Then we've got the Luke Humphreys, Scott Williams, Nathan Aspinall, Fallon Sherritt swearing or making inappropriate gestures on TV.
Yeah, they were worth the money.
Yeah, the Aspinall one was still absolute genius to this day. Right, let me fire up the good one.
Well, I will say I'm surprised, because we mention his name a lot of the time, Scott Williams. To only see his name on it once for 2022 is very surprising.
Did we miss the other one? Was that on 20?
It was on 21.
Oh, sorry, I missed it. Yeah, sorry. Wait a minute.
One job.
I don't like the sharing feature because you can't just switch a page
Depends how you're sharing it.
off a laptop, off my other laptop.
Share it as a full window and then you can just drop the other one in. But then we can see your porn subscription at the bottom.
No, just hundreds of tabs.
It's worth the money then by the sounds of things, Phil.
Right, is that? Right, there's the big one. Now, I remember when we were streaming this and the fire alarm went off at the Challenge Tour in Milton Keynes. And then on Dark Connect, next thing we know is players were being pulled out left, right, and centre. Because it transpired, Bradley Phillips went to the event knowing he tested positive for COVID, submitted a fake test, then got pissed up and told the world what he did. Now, look, I'm pretty sure during that time he was not the only one that did that. In fact, I'd put quite good money on the fact that he wasn't the only one to do it.
I put a large amount of money on that, but I think his story is slightly different. I don't think he actually tested positive. I think just to negate the possibility of it, he put a fake test in.
No, I heard he knew he was positive during the week from a very good source. But during the week, he knew he was positive, took a test at home and failed.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. However,
what you don't then do is tell everybody outside.
Exactly that.
That's just a level of stupidity.
Welcome to darts.
No, but this is next level.
Yeah, and it's very, very easy to look at this in hindsight and say, is 4 years too much given the more and more we learn about COVID and whatever else, and whatever your opinion on it. But at the time, 4 years is bang on, I think.
At the time, it was against the law.
Yeah.
Whether people agree with it or not, he broke the law. The bit that made me chuckle on this, infecting 3 PDC staff members. Now, although probably that's quite a hard one to prove, let's be fair, where you contracted the virus from.
Especially being at an event where there's hundreds of people.
That he's already been banned.
He is the only one that was found to have done this, and within the 2 weeks afterwards to have produced a positive test, then fine. But
look, I get it. However, the suspension itself, 4 years. Look, he's learned a very, 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 very valuable lesson.
Yeah.
Here, and look, it does send out the right message for me as well.
it is quite alarming, though, that his sentence is twice as long as Wessel Nyman.
It wasn't, though.
There's no way for Bradley to...
Wessel's sentence was 5 years.
Yeah. But because he could cooperate, he got that reduced.
Yeah.
And actually, in 2023, which one is a worse offence? Not at the time. Now, which one is a worse offence?
But you can't then reduce the term because that has changed.
For something that felt accurate at the time, it feels a little harsh in retrospect.
Yeah, possibly. But
they are two different. They are two different offences, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's hard.
It's like those that get jailed for 20 plus years for streaming the Premier League compared to people that are serving 8 years for GBH or whatever. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, in this one, it's probably hard to justify one being longer than the other. But I do get it because obviously, 2-3 years on, when you look at that now, and by the time it's been published, it's slightly different to if it had been published at the time.
Yeah. He's only a kid. He can come back from this. And hopefully he's used the time wisely. There was another few on here which we've been spoken about. Matt Campbell, inappropriate behaviour. I don't know.
You do know what that one was. He was battered.
That doesn't normally come down as inappropriate, though, does it?
Yeah.
Normally they put that as something else. Not playing to the best of your ability.
He was battered.
Oh, yeah, it was only average 48. We know that.
Yeah. Was that when he travelled really late, hadn't slept, and then got he travelled late, hadn't slept, came in and just got on it and overdid it.
Yeah. So we've got some from 2023 here as well. Rab Bain betting on darts. Rab.
Naughty.
Rob Cross failing to complete his match. And the interesting one, which was spoken about a lot at the time, was the Jose Justicia in the WDF event. Was it in Torremolinos or
Spain?
What's that?
Spain won it. Was it not Catalonia last year?
In Spain, where it was alleged he assaulted a female player. Obviously, it was dealt with. 250 quid in a formal warning.
Will be interesting one.
The wording
don't know
is
the full details of that one. We've seen the account of the player that stated they were assaulted. We've seen enough to back that up. We've never really seen Jose's side of that argument.
No, exactly. Which I'm sure he's presented evidence at this hearing.
But if it was anywhere near as accurate as the player that was assaulted described, that is nowhere near enough.
No, but my guess is that they would have heard both sides of it. But yeah.
Yeah, when you look at, and this is where the wording doesn't help without much more detail. When you look at the Nathan Aspinall sign on TV being the same amount of fine as what is reported as what happened with Jose, has been the same figure. It doesn't feel right back to the punishment, but it is only hearing one side of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. But we can only go off what was there. But I'm glad that they've started to publish notes again.
The next batch is due, 25, 26?
I think we may get them at least once a year now.
No.
When's the next time you're going to check the website? Tomorrow morning?
Oh, to be fair, I was checking it weekly.
More frequent than that. I don't believe that at all.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, and yet somehow you've got away with it.
Sean, this. The DRA, look, but these notes should always be made public as well.
100%.
The fact that players are getting fined for misdemeanors, which is fine, I've got no issue with that, but it shouldn't be cloak and daggers like it was.
Well, they're pretty vague with some of these, aren't they? Like, I think the PDC will go the opposite way. They will wish that none of this is there.
Oh, 100%.
But
why would you want it there? From a PDC perspective, you don't want any of this public.
No.
No, but if you're fining players...
Their decision. Find the buggers!
We missed
what I will say is it looks less of a Christmas party in 2023 than it has the previous 2 years.
The previous 2 years, it's been a free bar in Dubai.
Inception.
Right. Why has that not gone back?
Because I changed the layout so we
Ah.
could be in boxes.
See, you use this software more than I do.
Don't touch.
That's it. So that was the fines. Another, we've bashed the calendar, but there's another one that is just like the Masters. The World Series of Darts final draw was done. Did you like the live draw? No?
Yeah. That one that was uploaded as a video. Yeah, amazing how that happens live.
Shawnee Mac, I would love a season-long documentary, but they would never risk doing it. Would never
Money
risk
talks,
it.
Philip.
What's that?
Money talks.
So does Vincent van der Voort, and that's the issue.
Yeah, I was going to say. Look, there's too much that goes on in the practice room that they don't want broadcast, and if you're doing that fully behind the scenes documentary, you cannot not put it in.
But are any of these fully behind the scenes? Any that we see today? There's still.
Yeah, but I think there's a different. You cannot control cameras being backstage where there is alcohol, and that is still a massive part, whether people want to know it or not.
Yeah. Look, the ones the PDC do internally are very, very good, and Luke does an amazing job at editing them and only getting specifics on shot. He does a fantastic job at it because of the image of the sport and where they're trying to get it. You have to. But the World Series of Darts final, and there's first of all, let's address the qualifier. It's shit, isn't it?
That many into an event that has a ranking list is a joke. Sorry. It just is. No disrespect to the 8 players that have qualified via that route.
Oh no, they've won. They've won through on the day. So
yeah,
but it shouldn't be that many.
No.
Oh no! As a player, you 100% in a doubt to that qualifier.
100%.
Because of the amount of money that you can win a toss that weekend, but it shouldn't be the case.
At most, they should have 4 in there, maybe even just 2, to give players a chance that wouldn't get picked usually. But the concept of the World Series is showcasing other players.
Yeah, like there's people in there that have never played in a World Series event. Now, I get they've qualified, so it's nothing against them. But the World Series is there for showcasing. So for me, they've missed a chance here by not. Your Alex Spellman's, I know he was in the chat room earlier, but smashed it on the CDC to the Ben Robb, that arguably put up one of the best performances in the Oceanic World Series event, but I can't remember who he played, but lost in an absolute brainstorm of a game. But anyone else he'd have won, but it was down to the draw, yet was punished. So I just think they missed an opportunity to put some of the other World Series players in this.
Agree. Totally agree.
But having said that, there is an absolute blockbuster of a game in round 1 as Dutch World Cup teammates go head to head.
Not ideal for either of them. Thanks, PDC.
Look, there's some tough games there. Johnny Clayton, Martin Schindler, Daniel Closer has come from nowhere recently. Got to a Pro Tour final, played with Ratajski, Clemens O'Connor, Hetter against Evans, Keegan Brown Whitlock, Dirk van Dijvenbode Noppert, Barney Jeff Smith, and Graham Usher. Hope I poo how. Yeah, no, the same. Look, I'm buzzing for Graham Usher. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. But how funny would it be if Graham Usher, that hasn't played, I don't think he played on the TV board at the UK Open, did he?
Usher?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No, he didn't.
So his first TV tournament is going to be the World Series of Darts finals.
Strange.
Yeah, exactly that. It's just strange the way it all comes about.
And let's be honest, how the draws worked out. Might fancy a little run. It's not the most difficult of that opening round and then second round ties. But yeah.
Completely. Look, if he can get past Hopai Puhau, at the moment, the two seeds you probably want more than anything is Dimitri Vandenberg and Peter Wright.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's hard to disagree.
But what are we thinking then? Who do you fancy, or how do you see this panning out?
I see.
If you've been following the exhibition scene this weekend, I'm guessing you don't want a Price MVG final. Because you might have seen them a few times.
They've been a bit good, haven't they?
Yeah, just a little.
I mean, I actually am. I think Michael Smith comes through his quarter, but I think he loses to Go in Price, the form that Gezzy's shown for the last 4 nights. I think it's Rob Cross has been steady, but I just think one of the guys in that section can and will go berserk against him. And his B game's been solid, but I'm not sure I'm going to go berserk A game is still as good. I think whoever comes through that loses to Van Gerwen. I don't see him having any issues in that section of the draw. Damon Heta potentially, if he gets past Ricky Evans, who's starting to look like the player we know that he can be. And then it's a coin toss between Van Gerwen and Price after where they played the last 4 nights.
Yeah, sadly, I agree with you. I don't see who stops them meeting each other in the final.
We haven't seen enough of Aspinall. I think he's in trouble against Dirk or Danny. That's a stinker of a draw for a player that's missed the last couple of Pro Tours off the back of quite a big break from a lot of travelling. Peter Wright produced a half-decent run on one of the Pro Tours, but actually that level still isn't shot up the way it should be. Smith and Barney will be steady, but I still think Michael Smith's got enough over that distance.
I'm
beats Dimmy, but I don't think he gets past Gezzy.
Other than I'd say Michael and Derwin, the others I'm looking at are the ones who are in the first round. So it's obviously the winner of Dirt and Noppy. Damon can cause trouble, and the fact that yes, Ricky's playing better, but that's not a bad start, as we've said, with Dimmy and Peter being the weaker of the seeds, so that's in form. And then it's that potential of a Johnny Clayton, Rob Cross second round. If Johnny then can find himself through that, you would then put him in a strong position to potentially break the field. But I'm going all Welsh. I think it'd be Johnny and Derwin Price final.
I think Johnny's Pro Tour last week wasn't good enough.
Yeah, but
he's in a nice part of the draw.
He's in a nice part of the draw, and there's someone who can throw into it. We know what he can do when it's a non-rant event.
Yeah.
And that tends to be the ones that he goes on and picks up. I think it'll be Arlington Senior Welsh final. But I do think Desi comes through.
Yeah. Game of the first round for me, Daniel Close and Christoph Ratajski. The way they've both played the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Really good game.
I've got a horrible feeling the AFAS Arena will get Barney through.
Just that one, though.
Barney turns up.
Just that one, Phil?
I think they'll get him through the Smith game and the Jeff Smith game. I don't think they'll get him through the Michael Smith game. If I'm being honest, it's just a bit of a bland lineup, isn't it?
But how they've set the qualifying criteria, is there any surprise that that's happened? We are going to have standout draws. We are going to have great games. but you're looking at those expecting maybe one coming through that first round, and then it's seeing how the rest of the tournament pans out with who comes through it. But the draw allows that sort of, as you've labelled it, bland draw, or
it goes back to, and we're not saying any of them aren't good players because they're all brilliant, but there's not that excitement in that X factor isn't there with this lineup.
Is there anywhere nowadays?
Yeah, the match play was the match play lineup was incredible, and that always has a buzz around it.
And it's what the tournament represents. It doesn't, looking at the field, doesn't feel as much of a World Series that it should. Especially when you're looking at that first round. Yes, there's numerous countries in there. But it's predominantly a European field in what it should be for that first round.
Yeah. James, but is he? I don't know if he is a ticket seller anymore. He may be for that event because it's in Amsterdam, but certainly not in the UK. What is it? Chatting rubbish. Sorry, the lineup is the best dart players in the world. It's not the best in the world. It's a selection. But if you're talking about the best players in the world right now, is it? Not for me.
As a 24, then no, of course it's not.
No. No.
Well, it's down to have, and I think where people might be coming from the best. We've obviously got the 8 seeds in there are predominantly your top 8, but they were down to being there anyway. It's more a look at that first round, Ty, than it is the seeds.
Yeah. Is it live, lads? Yeah, I think it is. Mason that are all out there, so yeah, it will be live on ITV.
Yeah.
There'd be serious question marks if the World Series finals wasn't live.
Yeah, maybe a few. Where are we? Does anyone know what walk-on song demo plan the PDC declined? I didn't know they had, Shawnee. It must have, if it was on the Euro Tour, it must have been bad because normally anything goes. Bob, yeah, look, I completely agree that there should have been more World Series players in it. It's the World Series finals. But
No games. They didn't used to go. Well, they doubled up the days ones because they missed one. Why did they miss the Premier League? Was it Brighton or Exeter? Or...
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, Barney in his heyday, I absolutely agree with. Barney now, no. So that's the World Series finals. CDC weekend. We know who is coming to Alexandra Palace from across the pond. Congratulations to Alex Spellman. He was in the chat room earlier. Stowe Bunt and David Cameron all coming to Alexandra Palace. And yeah, we'll come on to the Euro Tour in a minute, Andrew. But it was just a good weekend of action from North America yet again. For me, by a long way, the best affiliate tour now by quite some distance.
I think so. Australia was definitely that element, wasn't it? But it seems to have gone a bit haywire, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's timings or what, but we don't seem to be as public. Asian Tour, I think, is on the way back up. There was a stat that only 2 players had been to every single event this year. 67-year-old Paul Lim was one of those.
Yeah.
The man's ridiculous.
So, yeah, just the Continental Cup left in North America. We did have the Euro Tour at the weekend. First of all, before we get onto it, what's your thoughts on the 4 missing the Euro Tour? 2 of them obviously just had the weekend off, but the other 2 coined it in.
Why not? They're there on the European Championships. They don't have to pay travel costs as much. And they get to play in a much more relaxed environment against each other and earn more money guaranteed. It's a nice life for some, isn't it?
It's done right, haven't they?
Yeah, and you're not surprised because you saw what Price did when he missed a couple early on in the season to dropping out the seeds, that he took that opportunity to do exhibitions in Scotland, I want to say, for one of those weekends.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he went and did weekend in Scotland.
So there's no real surprise to see that happen again. But it's mad that we've just predicted for a tournament coming up this weekend when none of them played the competitive action, but we've seen the numbers and we know how they're produced over the weekend, that there's still 2 of the favourites down into the World Series.
Yeah, they've been playing first to 9s and averaging 105. I'm more than happy to back them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that just shows the level that both of those 2 are at. Of just rocking up and doing that. But
just quickly before, sorry, I didn't answer Anne. So a lot of questions were asked why Gary skipped the qualifiers. He didn't skip the World Series qualifier. He was taken ill in the first leg and didn't play from there. He was genuinely ill. I spoke to one of the PDC markers. It was ridiculously hot in the Metrodome that whole weekend for the Pro Tour and the qualifiers, and yeah, he was taken ill. But back to the Euro Tour. What a week it's been for Cameron Menzies, first of all.
Playing some good darts, it's Cammy.
That he's gone from bordering losing his card to in the Worlds, in Minehead, keeping his card.
Yeah, and to be honest, the weekend surprised me a little on how he ended the week at the Players' Championship, because those first 2 days he was ridiculous. Then lost first round the following day. Lost first round in the World Series qualifier, I believe. May have been second. No, lost back-to-back first rounds. And then some of the stuff he produced on the weekend, yes, it was probably Tammy all over him with odds to. It was utterly ridiculous one leg, and some of them, the darts swaying to 1 will be a bit of a concern. But it was a great week or 10 days for him and some great performances. Probably the one thing I'd say, the word being shot from beating Peter Wright wasn't as big a shock for the people who'd seen darts for the past 2 weeks, or even London with the form of Peter Wright start and how Tam's playing.
Yeah, not wasn't a shock for me.
Even at, was it 4-2 down?
Yeah.
4-2, 4-3 down?
4-2, he won
1-4
on the spin.
Yeah, even then.
I feel like he's another in the Ricky Evans and Callum Ridds category right now that is just taking that extra half a second to set themselves for the hockey. Still throwing the darts as quick, but actually the importance of being in the same position, being ready to throw, and not rushing to get that first dart out of your hand seems to be paying off for that trio massively right now. They're still playing fast, but they're playing in a decent rhythm.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think he'll come away from the weekend disappointed because the opportunity he had to beat Danny and then how that draw then progressed. It could have been an even better weekend from what was already a very good 10 days.
Indeed. I got a question. Where on earth has this form from Jules Van Dongen come from?
Well, that's the other bit. That this is the Jules Van Dongen that we saw absolutely annihilate Q School with huge numbers, and all of a sudden he's just worked out how to do it in this environment.
What has it taken 18 months?
Yeah, he's been fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
Another Florian Hempel's immediate return to form out of absolutely bloody nowhere.
Good to see, though, after the form he reached before.
Yeah.
So good to see.
But all of a sudden, that these players are producing when it matters, you have to keep worrying for the others that can't produce it now. And that gap is getting bigger and bigger from players trying to keep their card to the ones that are doing this at the moment. It's just...
Especially once the players look like they were going that way. The minute they arrest that gap just keeps increasing, doesn't it? Like, that tour card race is provisionally no first round money added. But if these players are going beyond first rounds that weren't, that gap gets bigger and bigger and bigger to mount an assault on.
Oh, 100%.
And then you've got to give up your job next year to play.
Yeah. Obviously, spoiler alert, Krzysztof Ratajski ended a 4-year wait to pick up his second Euro Tour title. Pleased for him as well. Did you see the 9 darter that he threw with the 9 practice darts?
I did. That's becoming a bit more common as well. Was it West it won? No, who it won at the Super Series of the week?
John Worsley.
I think A.D. Lewis has done it before as well. Stephen Bunting replied to that thread on Twitter saying, "Did you see my last 3 darts?" Which makes me think he might have gone ball, ball, ball.
I'll find out. The boys at Keytown will know.
He definitely tweeted going, "Did you see my last 3 darts as well?" I think Dawson shared the Marco Meyer footage. But I don't get why a professional be bragging about 3 darts unless it's ball, ball, ball.
Yeah. I'll find out. Shawnee Mack, whilst we're talking on that, says, how much are we saying is safe? Oh, a thing that God loves.
Nothing is ever safe.
Okay, what is the projective cutoff to keep your tour card?
Statistician language. Tour card race. We'll keep the money on there.
$70's safe, isn't it?
Is it? There's not a lot of spots to be playing for if that is the case already.
Because obviously the post tour card race has got first round money at the Worlds on it.
Yes. I know there's a big jump, but everybody's got first round money added at this point. But obviously, if you're making... I'm not sure Mervyn King. And I know that's a big jump from 60 to 73.75.
You're playing very conservative.
But he's playing dreadful.
Does he need any more?
I don't know. What is he without provisional money? Still 73.75. He's not qualifying for anything. Maybe that's an advantage of him. Without provisional money, he's 53rd instead of 59th. So he actually loses out when people gain money. But he's in that advantage if he's not in anything at the minute, or Leicester's qualified for one, they'll be there. If Mervyn King doesn't play on TV again for the rest of the year, I think he's in trouble, even on that value.
I still think he'll be safe. Looking at how many need to jump in and where they are, that is some ridiculous runs.
There's still what, 6 Pro Tours, a Euro Tour, 4 TV events, including the players and the Worlds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I don't see enough doing enough.
Dukes was in Pro Tour semi last week. Van Veen's there. Rafferty looked half decent in the week.
Nah, you've played that well conservative.
I think Jeff Smith and below are in trouble.
I think it's higher than that. I don't think Jeff Smith can make up 25 grand to keep.
No, I said he's in trouble. It's not like I think Ian White is safe, but I don't think Mervyn King is. Despite the fact Ian White is 2 grand worse off than Mervyn King right now. Because I think Ian White is still capable of rocking up on weekends and getting to a board final and being in whatever. I don't see that with Merv right now.
Yeah, but I think that number's very hard to hit for that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't see how they hit those numbers.
That's my number. Take it or leave it.
I'm leaving it. I think.
Where is Merv in the world?
I'm 50-50 on Boris. And that's where I am.
Still 33rd. What's Merv defending?
On that figure, between the 71 and a half, Ian White's fine.
Yeah, I'm with you. Ian White is fine on 71.75.
Merv's defending 82 grand between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, but on the tour card race, that's come off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But if you're above that, enjoy next year.
But so whilst we're on that kind of theme, we've got 2 races going on at the moment. The race for the World Grand Prix. If you are Chris Dobie and Callan Ridds, are you worried with a Euro Tour to go? Being that
You're not in them.
Petresco, being that
No, not really.
I still think they'll be fine to have got to jump on.
And for Woodhouse to do that, he's got to make a quarter. Semi.
Yeah, Van Veen's got to make a quarter.
the one that I'm worried about is Ridds. And the reason I say that is Petresco can catch him, and then Van Veen can catch Ridds.
Still an ask, though, isn't it?
It is still an ask, but I think Dobie is
okay. He hasn't made a final session of a Euro Tour yet.
Did Van Veen make one this year?
Yes, he's made one Sunday
Did he
afternoon.
make a quarter or semi-final?
Not that long ago.
Yeah.
I want to say quarters. Quite recently.
And yeah, a quarter final for Van Veen again would get him there.
I think Chris is fine.
I think Chris is at the Grand Prix.
Talon's worried.
90% there.
Yeah, Talon's worried, but
I think he'll get there.
I think he'll be fine.
In an ideal scenario for Callan, Petretsko and Van Veen draw each other in the first round.
And
Just
Luke
possible.
Woodhouse is in the same section of the draw.
Yeah. Can Willie qualify? Willie would need Petretsko to lose first round, Gian to lose second round, Woodhouse to lose before the third round, and to make the final. Nah.
Or win it.
Or win it. Nah.
Yeah. And the other race is for the European Championships, which is hotting up. What have we got? 2 Euro Tours to go or 3?
We have got 3.
3.
We've had 11. We've got 14, haven't we? As well as
13?
2 left then.
Yeah.
I thought we had 14 after next year. Right?
Updated after ET11, so there's 2 more.
Yeah. And this is the European Championships is 1 place 32, isn't it?
Yep.
So this is where it could get a little bit tactical.
Dicey. Dave Chisnell, number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Nah.
It's annoying. It doesn't tell you on that race who's qualified for the final 2 Euro Tours.
They're not
On the
updated.
race in European.
Then again, Bo Greaves had qualified for the match play 6 months before they gave her dark green. So
Yeah, if you feel Steve Beaton, you're slightly concerned on that European Championship one.
staying alive.
Yeah. Considering Dolby's in the last one and Beaton's not in any of them.
Yeah.
Dolby's 1 win away from jumping.
Owen says Wesley Placey had an excellent weekend. Yeah, he did. Superb weekend for him. Should we get questions in as well whilst we're here?
Yeah, it's 5-2. Fire up.
Go on then, everyone. We'll fire them up. Get your questions in. What have you got for us?
Is there a TV major in Chisnell? No. Not for me.
Not for me.
He has definitely got the ability. Do I think he has the mentality to get over the line given how many he's failed in now? No.
I'm
A
with you.
modern day Terry Jenkins.
Nope.
Um,
He finds a way.
When and where?
When he's number 1 seed at the European Championships.
And loses first round to Chris Dobie.
the Masters, because you two don't class it as a major.
Neither do the PDC. It's a premier invitational event.
They're all televised titles.
And in the order of how they've written them on their website as well, by the way, it's 3rd out of 4th. 3rd out of 4.
Did Gary enjoy his selfie at the weekend, Boise?
Yeah, delightful.
He looked it.
Yeah, considering I've just seen him at the end of a defeat, he was delighted to see me. Of course he was.
At least someone was, because I never am.
You lie. You always ask me for a selfie as well, but I say no to you.
Unless you're ironing my shirt, and then I'll take a cheeky little photo of my bitch at work.
Don't do it anymore. You know this. And by the lots of things, no one does your ironing anymore, so it's fine.
Right, what have we got questions?
She does enough nowadays, it's fine.
Sam says, how long till Bo starts taking part in exhibitions? Fallon's been doing it. It depends who books her, I suppose.
She's done a couple. She's done one not far from here.
I don't mean this horribly, but she hasn't done any of the big ones that we see social media coverage of. Does that make sense?
I think she's done 2.
Yeah, she did one with Gary, didn't she, and Wayne?
3,
So
yeah.
I know the one you're on about.
She's done the ones with Chizzy and Lisa, I think.
Yeah, we don't see any footage of them, so they go under the radar.
Yeah.
What do you think of the last 3 international qualifiers will be? The Oceanic Masters, Europeans. I think Ben Robb will come through.
No, where will the spots go?
I've got skim reading again. It says, what do you think the last 3 international qualifiers will be?
Yeah.
So I thought you meant as in players, not where.
No. As in the ones that haven't been designated a qualification route as yet.
The Oceanic Masters gets one.
Yeah. I don't even know where we are anymore. They'll give the highest rank Max Hop a go again.
Wait a minute. Not that one. That one. So right, at the moment, that one's done, that one's done. So we've still got Challenge Tour places, Women's Series places, PDC Asian Champion winner and runner-up. The CDLC Pro Tour, is that the Caribbean one?
No, I don't know.
African Continental Tour.
Hi, Peter. Yes, it is.
Correct. Thank you very much. Hope you are good, my friend.
Plenty of letters in that one.
Yeah.
Paul, we spent 55 minutes talking about the calendar at the start of the show. We have definitely seen the 2024 calendar. We have gone to town on the 2024 calendar. And if you would like to hear our opinions, watch this back when we are done.
Yeah, we absolutely ripped it to shreds. We're not going to lie. Super stuff, mate. Super stuff. Good stuff over the weekend as well. We spoke highly about that earlier. Just the Continental Cup to go for your 2023 season. How are we doing, Craig? Hope you are good. Craig says, do you see new venues being looked at in the future for the Premier League? Not in the UK. I think it's where they ditch in the UK to move to.
There's one coming in the UK.
Oh, the Bristol one when it's fixed.
Exeter will definitely turn into
Exeter, yeah. But other than that, Newcastle will move as well once the new arena's done in Gateshead.
Yeah.
Have they ordered some new Newcastle flags for that Premier League? Or
I suppose potentially there could be a new one in Manchester, because isn't there a 20 or 25,000 seat arena going in that Etihad complex as well?
No idea.
Shy.
There's already a stadium around there.
Teams in Manchester, do they?
There's already a stadium around there that's hardly visited, so they don't need another stadium to build for some team, do they?
Yeah, but you'd swap their team for yours right now, that's for sure.
Of course I wouldn't.
Yeah, you would. Half yours are in prison. Well, I did that.
I might change the behaviour of some.
Prison FC. Sponsored by AIG Man United.
When are we going to get a big tournament in Scotland? Sorry, and you don't think you are. I think it's your two Premier League nights and
freezing.
That's it.
It's freezing, and you still use Iron Brew to power your dial-up.
You're all right, Dob.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Tommy, Dart Show. Remember, Dart Show.
The Montrose accent was all right this morning. Says Andy, Phil, you were commenting, how did Barry Van Peer lose that qualifier at Modus today? Because in that first game, he played very well, and Barry was shy. That's how. Barry got better as the day went on, and the other guy, I can't think his name off the top of my head.
Scott Winder.
Scott Winder got worse, but in that first game he was superb. And
there is a massive difference between playing round robins, group stages, and playing straight knockout darts.
Yeah. Dozer was extremely good on the Euro Tour at the weekend in comms. I covered for him today. Do you reckon the PDC will start drifting towards 128 at the Worlds? No, not yet.
No, not for me.
After that announcement today, there is that much mess at the moment that I think that's a way off, don't you, boys?
Yes.
Darts 5-a-side team, who would you have in? Oh, right, Cullen would be in. Cullen, Webster.
Webby's not a tour card holder.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that. It just says Darts 5-a-side team. I know those two are good. Oh, Aspinall's decent.
Don't be any good?
Probably.
The Saudis would probably pay him a lot of money. Whether he's any good or not's a different
Find him
thing.
up.
Yeah. Big Johnny, why? What happened?
Controversially, I'm not picking Gezi or Johnny.
Yeah, wrong sport.
Ross Smith's a shout.
Yeah.
He's got Tony Adams vibes to me. That neck is just so long.
Tammy's a self-proclaimed world-class goalkeeper. I say self-proclaimed. Should stick him in. You're not going to hear a word he's saying out to you, but...
That fucking mad monk from...
To be fair, that is still tweet of the year so far. What happened? Aaron Monk happened.
No, crazy starting goal. It's like Meme Machine, isn't it?
Yeah. What happened? Aaron Monk happened. That's what. But everyone, thank you very, very much for your support. Thoroughly enjoyed that. The news dropping of all hell breaking loose was interesting.
And just to Ryan's point, did you not see Desi on Saturday AM? Yeah, that's why we're not putting him in. That's the evidence to not pick someone.
Yeah. But as we say, this will be back as an audio-only podcast from wherever you listen to us from. Suits on with us next week. We already sorted that one out. Boys, it's been a blast.
It's been fun.
So we will see you all next week. Remember, plenty of fallout from the World Series finals coming your way. Interview with Lloydie dropping Wednesday as well. But so I haven't got. Is there a funny comment? Because I haven't got them up. Because I'm in the other bit.
Callan just told you to grow up. So much funnier when he goes at you instead of me. I can't.
How are we doing, Cal? I hope you are good, mate. Well, we can't put you in because you're always injured.
Well, I've had a haircut. Giving it bigger. Now he's back.
But I'm in Phill Bars, Jack Garwood, Lee Boyce. That is us boys signing out, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Ooh.